Hey, Hail Squad, Marie Menounos fans. Welcome back to part 2 of my interview with entrepreneur and brand builder Marie Forleo. And in this part 2, we talk about the present you versus the future you and how you can actually make the two work together. We go into the 6-step framework to building a business from scratch. And guess what? It all begins with 2 words: profit clarity. What's that? Well, you'll have to tune in to find out. Hey, Heel Squad with Marie Menounos fans. Hate to disappoint you. It's not Maria Menounos. It's Mr. Marie Menounos. Sitting in for my beautiful and talented wife. Bringing you part 2 of my interview with Maria's bestie, Marie Forleo. We had an unbelievable part 1. A lot of really good practices to put into effect if you are someone with big dreams, big business aspirations, but don't think you have the means to do it. Forget it. Marie's got you covered. Author of Everything is Figure Outable and so many other things coming up, including her B School and her Dream Club app, which is also incredible. And I hope we have time to go over this as well. I'm just going to let's go right into it. Marie, thank you again for coming back today.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be with you, Kev.
All right. So yesterday we ended with you just kept dropping all of these little truth bombs. And I was trying to keep up with you with all my notes here. But you had said you wanted to put in all these practices in effect for present Maria because being motivated to know it was going to affect future Maria or something to that effect.
Yes. Yeah, no, I try and think, Kev, all the time, like, what can present day Marie do that's going to love on future Marie? That when future Marie gets here, whether that's a day from now, a month from now, a year from now, 10 years from now, she's going to look back and give past Marie, younger Marie, a little high five because she did it right. So we were talking about in the context, if anyone hadn't listened yesterday, go listen to it. But just every single day, I do this practice called mise en place, putting things in their place. So it's a little bit of cleanup around my house. It's setting up my morning routine. It's making sure that my environment is really conducive to me feeling good and being really productive. So that's like a micro way that past Marie is taking care of future Marie. But I look at that through the lens of my finances, my health, my relationships. So from a financial perspective, money, it's a very important topic for every human, right? And it's something that we need to pay attention to and care for and cultivate our relationship with, in my opinion, throughout our entire lives. So, I'm in my 40s. And as I look to the future and as I look even in the present moment, how am I making smart and sound financial decisions with my business and with my personal life that are setting future Marie up to have more freedom, more flexibility, more possibilities, because none of us can predict the future. So, in other words, I'm not spending or putting myself in the red. I am a person who likes to live as simply as possible. I like to live debt free. I like to streamline things. I like to have things very lean. And so I keep making choices from a financial point of view so that present day Marie is absolutely content. She's absolutely happy and satisfied. She's not limiting herself, but at the same time, she's setting up for, again, God willing, in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years, for future Marie to be okay and to be loved by past Marie. Does that make sense?
It does. So I feel like it's something you almost can run, as tiring as it may be, but at first may be necessary to run every decision through that. Is this being kind to future Marie?
I mean, I think about that in terms of what I put in my mouth. I'm Italian American, and a few years ago, I learned gluten and me no longer get along, right? Used to get along, no longer get along.
Right.
And there's just certain foods, and everyone is so bio-individual. So I'm not going down the road of,
no, everyone's different. Yeah, everyone's body.
Yeah, we're all very different. But I learned from blood and from doing a bunch of different tests. It's like, oh, this creates a not so great reaction in your body. So even though my habit, and again, I'm Italian, I grew up on bread and pasta and this, that, and the other thing. It's like, I can't touch this stuff anymore. So even though it's tempting, I'm like, future Marie is going to have the worst stomach ache. She's probably not going to feel good. She might even be depressed for a few days. She's going to feel awful. She's going to feel cranky. Do you know all these things? I'm like, I love future me too much to screw with that.
Not doing it. Yeah.
Same thing. Sometimes, alcohol. Again, this is not judgment. I'm just talking about my own personal experience. about making choices in the moment where I'm like, huh, if I do this, I'm screwing over future Marie. You know what I mean? That's on some level. And then relationships too. I try and keep myself in a place of enough presence and being slow because I know for sure in my life, relationships are the most important thing. So, future Marie, I want me and Josh to be together for the longest time possible. But I know statistically, he'll likely go before me. Again, nobody knows anything, right? I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. That could happen.
Right.
Don't want it to happen, but that could happen.
Yeah.
So I look at how am I making investments in my friendships and my network? How am I growing this beautiful life and cultivating strong connections now so that ideally, in an ideal scenario, in 40 years, whatever it is, that when I might be by myself, I also have cultivated this garden of friendships and connections that can still be satisfying in a different way. Does that make sense?
Yes, it
Yeah.
does.
So it's like me really trying to be, and again, I know we live in a world of uncertainty. No one can predict anything. I could go down in a plane next month. I don't want that to happen. But if I am around for a while and like my grandma lived until she was like 94, like we got some longevity in our genes. I want to do right by my future self.
And be more productive and be able to move and not it's one thing to live a long time, but to live a long time.
Healthfully
Yeah.
and joyfully as possible.
Yeah.
Going to the gym. It's like we all know the stats around losing muscle mass as we get older. It's not this, you're not the same when you're in your 20s. Like in your 40s and 50s, it is so important to get that muscle mass build. And for me, I'm taking dance classes several times a week. I want my cardio health being strong.
And that's
I want
fun
to
for
feel
you
good
too,
in my
though, right?
body. Oh, dance for me, Kev, dance is like my religion. It's my church. It's the place I go where I tap into, work through, exhume so much joy to be lost in the music and in the rhythm and to do that in community with other people. It is so much fun. It is so incredible. I walk out of there high on life every single time.
And for you, it's dance, but for other people, it could be something else.
Could be swimming. It might be running. It might be yoga. I love my yoga. I love my weight training too. I'll go down in the dirtiest, grittiest gym, get me on a bench. I love throwing around some heavy weights, dark lights, smelly, stinky. I'm in.
Yeah.
That's like a different level of joy. It evokes a
Well, I
different
also
kind.
think there's a really need for the maintaining of muscle. I've been on Maria for this, and she's the last year finally started to move over to weights and start building up her upper body. Rather than just be cardio, she's
Yes.
now and she's feeling stronger physically. And I think that keeps you young and fit.
It does. And,
Mentally.
if you think about it from like a purely functional standpoint, you want to be able to lift your luggage, if you're going on a flight
Yes.
somewhere, you know what I mean?
How
Or
about
drag
an
it around.
11-month-old?
Yes, that's exactly right with Athena, right?
Yeah.
It's like all these different things and the functional aspect of it's huge. So it's just, we're bringing it back though to that idea of how can present day you love on future you? How can you let that lens inform the choices that you make each and every
I love
day?
it.
It's just, I think, a fun idea and concept to try on. Because every day you wake up and you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, how'd I get here? It's like, oh, well, you lived and that's awesome. But past you made some choices that future you is now dealing with.
Well,
Is there anything that needs to shift?
and again, it goes back to create, not consume. So when
Yes.
you're, I feel like that's creating muscle, creating health, creating, or for dance, it's super creative.
Oh,
I really love this notion, Marie. But were you someone who grew up with means?
no, not at all. So my mom grew up in the projects of Newark, New Jersey,
Okay.
to two alcoholic parents. So she also been told me, Kev, like many stories, like they never bought, fresh clothes. It was always hand-me-downs. Most things had like cigarette burns in them and things like that. And my dad came from a very working class Italian American family in New Jersey where, all the kids had several jobs starting from when they were like 9 or 10. Like that was just the culture. That's just what you did. And so for me, my really the impressions that I had growing up from my mom mostly, it was like money was something like there was never enough of. You know what I mean? It was like, no, can't have, no, 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 to this, to that. So I really, even though we were fine and my dad worked his tail off and he was a small business owner and we were absolutely great, somehow I just always had the sense, like I think many of us do, is like there's not a lot of that stuff. You know what I mean? In terms of money. So you got to be really, really careful and really, really intentional with what you say yes to.
So, I do believe in um, traumas being in your DNA from generational trauma that exists.
Yes.
Like for that,
Oh,
like
yeah.
the pain of your grandparents. It sounds like were alcoholics, and then whatever your mother endured, and the scarcity of money. So, do you feel like that comes into play?
Oh, for sure. And I think, for me, I remember my parents, it was actually probably one of the most formative experiences of my life when I was about 8 years old. And my parents actually got divorced. And Kev, they never fought about substance. Like my parents are the cleanest people. They don't even drink wine. Like that was not a part of the equation. It was not about affairs or anything extramarital. That was never a problem. Every single fight that I ever remember from the time I could have a memory through what I'm about to share was about money. And specifically, there not being enough of it. My mom feeling like she never had any. She didn't have any power over it. She didn't have any control over it. It was just like it was not a part of that equation because my dad was the breadwinner. And so when my parents got divorced around 8, I remember there's this one specific instance. We were in our kitchen in New Jersey, and my mom was on the phone and she was crying like I'd never seen my mom cry before. And she's not a big woman, but she had lost maybe like 20 pounds throughout this whole thing. So she looked like a skeleton and her eyes were bloodshot. And she, this is back when it was like landline. So the cord was like wrapped around her hand as she was pacing back and forth. And she was talking to her mom, my grandmother in Florida, and she was like crying. She's like, "Mom, I have nothing. I have nothing." And it was just this whole thing. And so I'm kind of sitting there frozen, like so torn because my dad is such a good guy and I love him. But I'm seeing my mom, you know what I mean, in
Mm-hmm.
so much pain
Yeah.
and in so much fear. And when she hung up the phone, she bent down, put her eyes on my level. She took her hands and put them on my shoulders and she shook me and she said, "Ree, don't ever be stupid like I was." She goes, "Do you see what's going on right now?" She goes, "I have absolutely nothing. When you grow up, don't ever let a man be in control of your money. Don't ever let anyone be in control of your money. You got to make your own. You got to be independent. Don't be stupid like me." And Kev, like, and again, this was all done through tears. And I was basically in shock. You know what I mean? Like I was frozen, but I
Yeah.
felt like that message affected me on a cellular level. And the equation that I came up with was a lack of money equals a lack of love because I was like, okay, there's not enough money and this is breaking up my family and it's creating all this pain. So, what I made myself a promise, I said, when I grow up, I'm going to figure out a way to make so much money that it never tears my family away again. Like it never creates this pain that I'm seeing again. I didn't want tons of shoes. I didn't care about material stuff, but there was this equation in there. And I made myself that promise. And to be really honest, that was part of the driving force of me figuring out entrepreneurship and kind of healing my own money stuff because I wasn't the only one. Like, there was lots of kids in my school years where their families got divorced around money too. And I was like, I can fix this. That again, that's little me going like, I know I can figure this out.
I think okay. So I bet you deal with a lot of clients who have similar stories to your mom and to yours, by the way, as a child.
Yes.
And you know, the fact that you took it and made lemonade out of it, do you think is was it just because it was in your DNA, or is this something you can teach people? Because think I think a lot of people have that experience and it goes the other way,
Yes.
unfortunately, right?
Yes. So my own belief, and this is my own perspective, I think that one of my gifts on this earth, like this particular incarnation of this soul, is that I am here to help people create freedom for themselves And one of those expressions is through their money and through being able to use their unique gifts to transform that into financial abundance. And most of the people that I work with, they're not going like, I need to be a bajillionaire and have like private planes. Not that that's terrible. I'm not judging because there's more than enough to go around. But most of the folks who are attracted to our work, they want to have safety, security for their family. They want to feed them good food. They want to be able to take care of their health and their education. They look around in their community and see opportunities, right, where they would love to contribute and make a difference monetarily. So very much like me, it's like, yes, of course, we all would like, let's go on a vacation or let's have a beautiful thing. Yes, all that's wonderful. But it usually comes from a place of extraordinary generosity and care and humanity and taking care of.
Okay, going to put a pin in that because I want to come back to it, but you mentioned vacation, so I have to bring this up. Our friends over at Macy's, summer's biggest event is just around the corner, as we say in Boston. This Thursday, catch Macy's 4th of July fireworks live on NBC and streaming on Peacock, or see it live on the Hudson River in New York and New Jersey. Don't miss spectacular performances and an inspiring salute to the American spirit that is sure to be one of the summer's greatest hits. If you're going to be watching in person and need some inspiration on what to wear to the big event, be sure to head to Maria's wish list using the link in this description of today's episode. And obviously, like you guys always do, let us know what you picked up. But yeah, you know what? I'm glad we're doing something for the 4th. I have TBH, have to be honest. Like seeing that. I miss those days of summer. In Boston, we used to be at the we had the Esplanade in Boston, which was very cool to see the fireworks. But yeah, leave it to our friends at Macy's, always doing us right by the holidays. And I think obviously you want to get your summer fashion on. So yeah, head on over to Macy's like we always do. Okay, Marie, back to our discussion about people who can come out of these traumatic situations. And I know you were able to do it. And I have a theory that some of it was your dad because he was already good in business and that's part of your DNA. And then mixed with the trauma, you were able to take the trauma and take this next level. And maybe it's a DNA thing. I don't know. Because I see certain kids come out of families. You're like, wait, who? Huh? You see it all the time. I see it with Maria. But what do you do when you coach that person who comes out of that? Let's take it from you. If you were to get your mom, the woman who had just had the rug pulled, has nothing, made some bad choices, whatever, or even the partner was a narcissist. We deal with a lot of that on our show. And now you've got nothing. What does Marie Forleo do with that person?
Well, I'll tell you this in the story of someone who actually showed up in that situation. So her name was actually Stacy. And so let me talk you through this because I do think it's pretty instructive. Stacy is a woman who was making these little felt Christmas ornaments for her family, basically selling them. I think it was on eBay and on Etsy just for a little extra cash. Her husband was the breadwinner. Stacy did not have a college education, just like my mom. You know what I mean? Was not highly educated. She had a bunch of kids at home. And then Kev, the unthinkable happened. Her husband was instantly and tragically killed in a motorcycle accident. And all of a sudden, she not only was in the most devastating grief that anyone could possibly imagine, but she didn't have resources and she didn't have anywhere to turn. And her family was telling her, like, Stacy, you need to get a job. But Stacy had this little voice inside of her that had this intuitive inkling that there was something with these handmade felt ornaments. She had been watching my show for a while, and my tagline at the end is the world needs that very special gift that only you have. And Stacy told this to me. She's like, Marie, I gotta say, whenever you would say that, it would feel good, but then instantly my inner critic would say, yeah, but nobody needs handmade Christmas ornaments. They don't need my gift. Anyway, Stacy Ann trusted herself. Our program B School was coming up, and instead of listening to her family and the people who loved her, which, by the way, were only trying to give her helpful, supportive advice.
I always say it too, Marie. The people who love you Remember, their primary goal is usually to keep you out of pain, but that's not
Yes,
necessarily what is best for you and your ascension.
that's right. So her family was saying, please, Stacy, go get a job. But Stacy's inner voice, her intuition, her higher self was like, no, there's something to this. Stacy signed up for B school because she had been listening to the show. And she, again, even though she thought my tagline was crazy and didn't apply to her, there was something in her that trusted me enough to say yes. Within, I think it was about a year, she turned that little business into a full time whole business that was taking care of her. Within a few years, it went from like a side gig that was making her family extra cash to a multi-million-dollar business. So when I say that every single person, when you that I don't know of any more situation that can be, traumatic as husband getting tragically killed in a motorcycle accident and then you instantly having to figure out your ish. Do you know what I mean? To go like, what am I going to do? Am I going to listen to this inner voice inside that sounds crazy even to her to turn this ornament business into a full-time thing? But she did it.
Do you,
And
can,
like, yes, we provided the frameworks
yeah,
and the
but see, that's a
education.
big thing. It's also the framework. And I'd love, can we just touch into some of the framework,
Yes.
Marie? Because I feel like there's people who, when you first wrote your book, you were the first, you were the OG. But I hear this now from a lot of people. What I love about you is you actually give us the practical steps to make these things happen. It's not just manifestation and again, I
No.
believe in all that stuff, but you also have to do the work. And there
Yes.
are there are smart choices you have to make. So tell me, how do we go from, felt home ornaments to a multi-million dollar business?
So part of it, so we have a six-part framework that we walk people through in B School, and part one of it is called profit clarity. And it's getting extraordinarily clear about who your ideal customer is, because for any business to run, you are not serving everyone in the world, no matter how wonderful you are, and no matter how you're like, everybody can use my
No, yes.
cream, right?
No,
Everyone can
no,
use my movie, my podcast is
nope.
like that. It's like the
I always
baseline.
say
So,
big nets often catch little fish. They don't catch any
yes,
fish. Do you know what I mean? Like you
if
need,
you're talking to, here's what we say, if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody,
got it.
because it's so vanilla and you're so broad that it doesn't have the concrete, crunchy detail, emotional resonance to talk to a specific person. So part of profit clarity is I walk people through a series of exercises that are not quote unquote easy. They're challenging in that they're not impossible by any stretch. It's not like climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, but it requires some thought, and it requires some decision making, and it requires some discernment, and it requires some of you pouring your heart out there and maybe talking with people. But we get folks clear on their
So for
ideal
her, who
customers.
was her audience? Like, what would her for the felt ornaments? By the way, I love Christmas, so I'm really in on this one.
Yes. You know what? I should put you guys in touch with them because I actually don't have the answer. And here's what's so cool. Kev, I didn't know about Stacy, her whole deal. I had no idea about her transformation because when she went through B school, I had no, like, she wasn't one of those people asking questions all the time. Stacy was one of the people just doing the work.
Just doing the
So,
work.
like taking the frameworks, taking the exercises, going off and doing her thing. I only heard about it until when she's like, hey, she wrote to our team and was like, I think I need to tell my story because I can't even believe it. And we were all just like, gee, that's how it happens most of the time, to
Wow.
be perfectly honest. So we would have to ask Stacy,
Got
but
it.
we helped her get clear for herself. And also the other part of profit clarity is understanding where is the most money possible in your business. Part of what I do know about Stacy is that she recognized that people didn't just want her ornaments, but they also wanted to know how to make their own. So part of her ideal audience was crafters, was other people who wanted to then do this for themselves. And I mean, Kev, what she created was amazing. I didn't tell her to create it. Again, I just put her with these tools and exercises that helped her unlock her own creative genius. Does that make sense? And she
Yes.
took the steps and she did it. I take no credit for it. Again, we created all of these tools and this framework in B School, but she did the work just like every other B Schooler. They have success. That's all on them.
Got it.
That's just, we were just support.
Right. So
Anyway,
profit clarity is one. Then
profit clarity is one. So it's understanding where the most money is, where the most leverage is, where your most joy is. It's understanding too, even if something is bringing you money, but energetically it's bringing you down, that can't be a part of your vision moving forward because we genuinely want people to create a business and life they love. And sometimes you got to stick with something for a little while because it's a bridge. Absolutely. But we don't want to build your whole business into the future around something that drains you,
that's
drains your
draining
team.
you.
Yes, or where the profit margins are so slim and so tiny that you're going to be exhausted and you're going to hate your life. Can't have that. We're not going to have
Because
that.
it's
So that's
gonna
profit
it's
clarity.
doomed. Yeah, it won't work. Yeah, something's gonna
Yeah,
the wheels will fall off the
something's going to give.
wagon.
You're going to
Yeah,
quit. You're not going to want to do it. And if you don't want to do it, you're not going to do it.
you're out.
And there's not going to be the money there. There's not going to be the joy. There's not going to be the impact. That's not going to, that we're not about that. So profit clarity is number one. The second part of the B School framework is teaching people how to create irresistible offers. Kev, you know this because you're so experienced, you're wise and you're smart. You could have two products that are virtually the same. And if one is priced and positioned and there's a good story around it and they have great marketing, it'll sell like hotcakes. The other one could have the same function, but they're just not positioning it correctly. It's not put in front of the right people. They're not using the right messaging. The pricing can be off. And it's like, it won't sell at all. So, creating irresistible offers, we really teach people how to tap into what their ideal customer most needs and wants, and to be able to communicate in a way where they feel seen, heard, and acknowledged, and are like, holy shit, here's my credit card. Like, that's exactly what I've been looking for. And so much of this is around communication. And none of it, by the way, Kev, is manipulative. It's actually really, really solid human connection that you then apply in a business context.
Okay, and then what's number three?
The third part of the framework, this is one of my favorites. It's marketing, marketing, marketing. So there are certain timeless principles of marketing. You know, a lot of people, especially creative folks, especially big-hearted folks, when they hear marketing and sales, they're like, "Oh, I'm the creative person." You know what I mean? Somebody else
I
needs to do
mean,
that
I
for
see.
me.
Even Hollywood. Not only that, I it's you get that reaction. I always get the confused reaction of not understanding the power of marketing. So I don't care if you make the greatest podcast, the greatest movie, it doesn't mean anything if it's not going to be marketed. Especially today, how much great content is just buried?
Oh,
It's
100%.
because it's no
And that has
marketing,
because
and
there's no marketing. Listen, if people don't know about it and you don't know how to effectively entice them to pay attention, to say yes, to click, to engage, to subscribe, to buy, whatever action that you'd like someone to take, if you don't have those skills in your back pocket, all that front end work that you did is not going to create the impact or the income that you deserve. And marketing is a skill set that anyone can learn. And here's the thing, when you're doing modern marketing the way that we teach it to you, Kev, the best of your humanity comes out, not the worst. You're not going to feel like a used car salesman. You're not going to feel like you're pushing people. You're not going to be like, oh, I'm annoying everyone. It's not going to be like that. If you like being generous, if you like communicating, if you like listening, if you like helping people get where they want to go, you're already an amazing marketer. You just didn't know it. We just need to teach you some tools and principles and how to put them into place so that people actually respond to your offers. Like I was thinking about this in Dream Club. I was talking with one of our B School grads. She has a fishing business. Her and her husband have a fishing business, right? They went from like, I don't even know if they had broken six figures. They have a multi-million-dollar business now, and they only work a portion of the year because it's a seasonal business. And they're like, okay, we're looking to grow to the
love
next
it.
level.
I love
And they
it.
didn't really understand marketing before. Now they get it, and it's like, whoop, turned on the fire.
My soft serve ice cream stand that would only be open 4 months a year. Perfect. No, I love those businesses
Right?
because then you do get the work life balance. I was in the carny business for 8 years. I did it all through school and coming out to LA. It's what financed my eventual permanent move to LA. But it was great because it was seasonal and
Yeah.
there's no work in the winter. Okay, marketing, totally agree
Yep.
with you on that. So
And then four,
underrated.
5, and 6 from the framework perspective. So the next bit is actually your content piece of your business. So content marketing, your free content that every single business, I don't care what the hell you do, needs to have some kind of content at the front end. And in order to not become a free content machine or feel like you're just constantly needing to generate endless bits of content for social, for your website, for all the different places, There's really different methods and ways to reverse engineer your free content. So not only it educates and inspires your ideal customers, but it really sets up the sale. It creates a desire in people to want to know more and to come check out your business, your product, your service, whatever it is. So there's an art and science to that, and we teach you how to do it. The fifth part of the framework is audience growth. You know this because you guys run this podcast, you run this beautiful business. It's all about audience growth. How do you do that? What are some elegant ways to do it? On the free side, Kev, when I was building my business, I didn't have enough money to buy ads. I couldn't buy audience, which I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I just didn't have the resources to do it. So I started stacking up all of these different strategies to build audience from a free perspective, and many of them still work today. Again, I've been doing this for a really long time. And then the sixth part of the framework, the final part, is just marketing smart technology. For most of us, especially the kind of folks that come into B school, not all, we have some app builders and we have some people who are designers and engineers and things like that. But most folks are more creative in nature, and the technology side of their business can be a little intimidating. So we teach people how to choose marketing smart technology, whether it's about building their website or building some of the tech stack underneath them, so that it's built and geared towards making sales 24/7. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And does B School apply to someone who has a brick and mortar business too, or
Yes.
just online businesses?
No, 100%. We have so many brick and mortar folks because here's the thing. Here's the reality of the world that we're living in. Think about a brick and mortar business. Like if you're going someplace, we're all Googling. Like we're trying to find that brick and mortar place to go visit. And so our online presence needs to be really sticky, needs to be really effective so that we're pulling in, whether it's a local audience geographically or some brick and mortar businesses. Not only do they have a local audience, but they also have the capability to have a more global audience, or at least not hyper local, whether that's a national presence or some of them have an international presence. So they have a direct to consumer kind of leg of their business. I'm thinking about one of our students. She's based in New York, so she has this beautiful gift store called the Pink Olive, right? So they have a couple of locations around Manhattan, and it's like the most gorgeous mugs and gift cards. It's like the kind of place that you go where if you were going to a friend's house to be like, oh my God, I'm going to stop at the Pink Olive and get like a host gift, or I might get a nice little journal for myself or a candle or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And when Grace came through our program, she actually had this idea to take her local business and make it more actually, I think it was national. And she started this membership aspect of her business. And Kev, like, added hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to her bottom line just from thinking about her brick and mortar from a digital lens.
Because you can't do one without the other. I mean, right? There's no.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about this just like, I'm out here in Long Island right now, or even if I'm in the city. Like, if I hear about something or I'm searching for something that, I'm not necessarily going to I'm going to go online and I want to see their presence, or I want to see their Instagram page, or I want to see, even if it's a simple website, I want to see their website. And if they do an effective job at communicating that they have what I need, I'm going to go in there and spend money, or I'm going to call them, or I'm going to buy something from them online because I want to support a local business.
Okay, so on that note, see, I had really dry hair, and my wife pointed it out to me. So my solution was just wear a lot of hats. And so Maria said, no, I'm going to get you a product that's going to be amazing, and it's going to make your hair young and luxurious. So she went out and bought me some Way hair care, OUAI. And I say this all the time, so I ended up using it. It was amazing. Then Maria stole it from me because she's like, oh, thanks, guinea pig. Now I'm going to use it. So I had to go out and buy my own. But, it's funny, Marie, because that's something that had to be marketed as well. That's something I wouldn't get at a brick and mortar. Maria had found out about it because they had reached out to the show. I don't know what the story is. I should find out for these future ads. But it definitely wasn't through the traditional means that we found out about it. And then they turned us into, what do they say? Is it what, raving customers? Isn't there like a...
Raving fans?
Raving fans, right? That you're always trying to create. I think that's a Tony Robbins thing. But,
yes.
Right? And so, of the Way hair product line, we have become raving fans. And so if you want to have a really good natural hair product, they have a whole line. Go to theway.com, THEOUAI.com. Use promo code Heal Squad to get your 15% off which by the way I just did. Again, Marie, I'm now telling my present self to be more responsible with my money now that I have a baby. So all these little things I never did before, the 15% off or whatever, I'm actually, because Marie, I've had similar traumas to you, but I went the other way.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, you guys are so frugal, embarrassingly so, and I get it from your traumas and I get it from your lacking, and thank God you were, because I was able to go to college and things like that. But I went the other way and said, okay, now I'm just going to just spend everything I have. So
Yes.
I'm doing
Yes,
whatever I
yes, yes,
want.
yes,
I don't
yes.
want to hear it. So now,
Now you're changing.
I
Look,
am. No,
here's your new
I
mantra.
am.
Here's your new mantra. Ready? Saving money's like making money, baby. Saving money's like making money.
Saving money is like making money. You know, Maria did that with one of her, I think it was her hair makeup person, and got them to go from having such a dopamine rush from spending.
Yes.
Because, you know, in when you hit the celebrity hair and makeup world, I'm talking bags of money just fall from the sky, and first class travel, and just and you know, so you it's so easy to go to Beverly Hills and start buying a bunch of bags and things like that. But Maria got this person to to start saving and see the saving, get a dopamine rush from seeing the savings, rather than the 5-minute dopamine rush from getting the bag or whatever you were
Hell
buying.
yes.
And
Hell yes.
and it
Go,
worked
Maria.
because the person's like, oh my God, I love it. I love it. I get so excited when I see my bank account. It does make a difference. All right. So Marie, before I let you go,
Yes.
it's midweek, right? We're doing throwback tomorrow. I know how it works, Nikkei. Dwayne, Dwayne, can we help? Can we see if Marie can give any hope to Dwayne and Kev's arcade?
I was just thinking that.
Okay. Marie, I love an old arcade. A lot of good childhood memories. Just go in there and waste all my money dropping quarters, but it's a nice memory. I'm now of the belief, as I've told Dwayne, watching Bar Rescue and see people who love going to bars then spend their life savings opening a bar only to lose everything. And we usually conclude to those people, just put a bar in your basement and have your friends over. And so I'm in that place. I'm like, Dwayne, okay, we'll just make the arcade. We'll find an extra room somewhere at the network or here, and that's it. And Dwayne is like, no, it can work. It's my dream. I want to open an arcade. I don't know if these 6 steps from B School can help Dwayne open his arcade. Well, look at this, Dwayne. I'm seeing a nod. Dwayne, are you excited?
Oh, I'm so excited.
They can, Dwayne. They can help anyone. I think profit clarity is going to be a real eye opener for you, to be perfectly honest, to get some of these numbers down on paper. And then, in all honesty, and I would say this to you, Dwayne, and I would say it to anyone, when it comes to something like this, first of all, starting small doesn't mean thinking small. So is there a way that you could test your concept? You know, is there any small way, whether it's a pop-up or is there any kind of smallish version where we can prove this out and you can be like, yep, I really want to do this and I want to turn it up. So that would be the first kind of challenge that I'd give you. And then the second piece of it, though, is just really running some of these numbers. And look, money, there's always more where that came from. So if we can get you understanding what some of these financials are look like and what some of the profit capabilities are, if it actually hit, and you're satisfied with those potentials and also satisfied and you'd be okay if you lost it all. People, that happens in any kind of business. And if you're like, you know what, I don't want to go to my deathbed not having done my arcade idea. So if I freaking went balls to the wall, I gave it everything, I tried everything and it still didn't work, and I had to restart again, would you be okay with that? And your soul might tell you, hell yes. And then from there,
Dwayne,
we can take it through the
Dwayne would be
framework.
so okay with that, right, Dwayne?
My mind is blown.
Okay.
Blown.
So what we would think, so Marie, what I was thinking, because I'm like you, I just have to fix everything. There's got to be a way to make things work. We were thinking maybe make it a social club.
Ooh.
With monthly fees. So don't rely on the quarters and things like that. Maybe it's a club in LA of like-minded people. And I think Dwayne, we were even thinking maybe it's a club of people who love the gaming industry, game developers, game marketing people, people who just love gaming. So we've got the games in the background, but we put in the coffee bar, so that'll bring in some money, and then you can exchange ideas, you can talk to your people, almost like a Soho, almost like a WeWork or a Soho House, but for arcade lovers and people who love the video game community. I think that's
Listen,
what
if
we
that's a
landed.
market that you all can find and you can tap into, you know what I mean? You know how to market to them, you know how to reach them. And
I do.
so
The problem, I know how to do it all, but I don't. But how many more hours do I have in the day? I don't. Why is Dwayne
well,
pulling
it
me
sounds
into
like-
this?
yeah.
I can figure it out. But Dwayne, I'm tired. I keep saying, Dwayne, you needed to meet 40-year-old me. This is.
Write me a task list. I'll tackle it.
I was going to say, I was like, you don't have to do the heavy lifting. If this is Dwayne's dream, he can Dwayne it up. You can be an advisor.
Doing it up.
No,
help
and
coach
because all I want to do is I can just make $1 and I'll put money in and I just want to show up, play video games and make $1. That's it. A year. That's all I need. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, Charles Schultz, we always talk about this, but the Peanuts creator, he loved ice skating. He loved it so much that he took his money and he bought a skating rink. And he would go there every morning. His morning routine was to go there and watch the kids skate. There was a little concession stand. He would get his whatever he was going to eat, his coffee. That was his thing. And then he'd go to the office and write Charlie Brown.
How great.
Right?
Yeah, look, you can't take it with you. That's why, like, money, it's a fantastic tool. I love money. Like, it's awesome. It's awesome to make dreams come true, but it's not something that we worship in and of itself. We just use it as a tool to facilitate our dreams and to facilitate the dreams of others. So I'm all in on you all exploring this and taking it to the next level.
On Dwayne's Arcade.
Yeah, so Dwayne's Arcade, and I'll leave you guys with this nugget. Clarity comes from engagement, not thought. So everything can sound amazing on paper, and then once you start actually going for it, checking out a space, seeing those numbers, it's then going to be mostly, Dwayne, up to you, checking in with your intuition to say, does this still feel right? Do you know, even if it's scary, even if it's intimidating, your heart and your body language and your body intelligence is either going to say, let's go, or, and by the way, this wouldn't be terrible. You might be like, oh, I'm either seeing another path or I see how this would transform, and it would tell you to kind of pull back. But clarity comes from engagement, not thought. It's one of those truisms that you can hold with you as you guys move forward, and trust that it'll give you the information you need.
As these guys move forward, Marie, let's
go.
keep me from getting sucked into this. I'm too easily sucked in. That's my problem. I'm like, yeah, I'm in. By the way, you know who said that? Branson said that. He said his one flaw was that, yeah, he's been too all in on ideas.
Totally.
He's like, I'm in, But
Yeah.
again, my whole thing is if you end up at the end of the day, if you win more than you lost,
We're good.
That's it. That's
Good.
all that really matters,
That's right.
And wow. All right, Marie, I am so inspired by these two parts, and you can hear, if you're in audio, you hear me in all my notes that I have. And this morning routine, I'm going to put in practice. I really think this is going to help Maria because I don't think Maria. I know Maria's not doing it, so maybe she just doesn't know about it. But this is going to help Maria because she said one of her biggest complaints is I have so many things I want to do, Kevin. But then she gets very stressed over time and the anxiety, and then it just knocks everything out.
Of course, that's so natural for every creative, especially for Maria. And tell her, I'll text her too. I'll send her a voice memo, but I can work with her on this. We'll craft a perfect one that works for you and her and Athena. It'll be great.
Okay, so if I go to marieforleo.com, all the bells and whistles are there. Sign up for B School there.
So yeah,
Right.
so joinbschool.com is a place where folks can explore more about B School. I think you guys might have some special links you'll put in the description, so
We
you
will.
can add those there. If we didn't get to talk about it, we'll talk about it next time. Dream Club, which is really a fun thing. marieforleo.com/Dream Club if you want help bringing any dream to life. But everything
With a club of like-minded people, and it seems like it specializes in, I like this. People. It's geared toward the creative, out of the box thinkers who can let their freak flag fly. And this is
Yes.
this isn't even the
We've-
sales pitch. She was just telling me this. I was taking notes in the break.
We've got so many creative powerhouses in there, writers and artists and entrepreneurs and Dream Club. It's like a global community. We have, I
Dwayne,
think, all 50 states covered.
maybe I'm thinking for Dwayne, are we thinking B School or are we thinking Dream Club app for the arcade? Where does he start?
I think B School, because if you don't have business education, Dwayne, I want you to have all those tools,
Yeah.
and all that understanding, and the marketing is going to be critical for bringing the money in.
Got it.
And then I think Dream Club is good for folks who are either going or they're like, I just really need to activate my own power to bring my dreams to life. Like you don't have that confidence yet, but Dwayne, you sound like you have the confidence. You just need the business roadmap, and that's B School.
That would be wonderful. Yes.
So good, Marie. You're the best. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you all. This is awesome. Thanks to the audience for listening, and thanks for your entire team and your show. And of course, I'll send Maria a text and a note. I love you all so much. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
I'll see you this summer, as we say in
Yes,
Boston.
I'll see you this summer, baby.
Summer, yeah. I think we're going to be there. Like I said, we're going to be at Macy's. I feel like the end of July. So we'll be seeing you and your amazing, famous thespian character actor husband, who now that I've met him, speaking of the RAS brain stuff, now I see him in everything.
Yeah,
I was always a fan of his work, but like
Yes.
old movies I see him in, like it's
You're like, Josh, he's everywhere. He's
he
everywhere.
is everywhere. All right. I
Thank you,
love you,
Kev.
honey. Thank you.
This podcast and all related content published or distributed by or on behalf of Maria Menounos or mariamenounos.com is for informational purposes only and may include information that is general in nature and that is not specific to you. Any information or opinions expressed or contained herein are not intended to serve as or replace medical advice, nor to diagnose, prescribe, or treat any disease, condition, illness, or injury, and you should consult the healthcare professional of your choice regarding all matters concerning your health, including before beginning any exercise, weight loss, or healthcare program. If you have or suspect you may have a healthcare emergency, please contact a qualified healthcare professional for treatment. Any information or opinions provided by a guest expert or host featured within website or on company's podcast are their own, not those of Maria Menounos or the company. Accordingly, Maria Menounos and the company cannot be responsible for any results or consequences or actions you may take based on information or opinions.